Hi, this is Andrea Hendricks. Let me tell you how you can use your calculator to solve systems of equations, specifically linear systems and nonlinear systems. The goal is to solve each equation for y and input the equations into y1 and y2. We've done that repeatedly. I will mention here with nonlinear systems you may have to use y1 and y2 for one equation. Depends on if you have that plus or minus. And if you do, you're going to have to take up two expressions for one equation, so just be careful with that. And then you're going to graph and then use the intersect command to find the points of intersection. We've done that as well. That second trace, option 5. Okay. So just reviewing a linear system, 4x minus y equals 6 and 2x plus 5y equals negative 8. So by hand you're going to have to do some work, right? You would have to say that 4x minus 6 is equal to y and 5y is equal to negative 2x minus 8. So y is equal to negative 2/5 x minus 8/5. So you can enter those into y1 and y2 and then graph and then go to second trace and choose option 5, intersect. Then for first curve, you're going to press enter. Second curve, press enter. And I didn't capture the screen here, but then there's a guess, which you would move to that point of intersection. And press enter, and you would see your intersection is at the bottom, 1, negative 2. So with linear systems, it's pretty straightforward, nothing really to worry about. Now, the biggie, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what is this? The biggie is whenever you have nonlinear systems. So if I have this x squared plus y squared is equal to 10, and I solve that for y, I would have y squared is equal to 10 minus x squared. So y is equal to plus or minus the square root of 10 minus x squared. So you can see my y1 and my y2 are that first equation in my system. For 2x squared minus y squared is equal to 17, I would have 2x squared minus 17 is equal to y squared. So y is going to be plus or minus the square root of 2x squared minus 17. So these two are my equation for the second one, right? Those two both represent what the second equation is. Now, here's the deal, the catcher. The square root of 10 minus x squared and negative square root of 10 minus x squared, that's supposed to be a circle. It, remember, graphs it in the upper half and the lower half, and it's best viewed in that z decimal window, which is what I'm in right now. So my upper half is really this y1, which is going to be very important to know where you are. The lower half is y2, and in fact let me put those in blue just so you can keep the expression separated. So y1 is my upper half, y2 is my lower half. Then y3, notice I put it in the darkened graph. The square root of 2x squared minus 17, that's this piece and this piece, so that both makes up y3. And then y4 is this lower part down here. Okay. So notice that there are 4 points of intersection, right? There is a point of intersection here. Then there's a point of intersection. Well, let me make it red. Doesn't really matter here. Then I have another point of intersection here, and lastly I have a point of intersection here. So I've got to go through and use that second trace command 4 different times to find the intersection. Now it's very, very important that you get which two equations you're finding the point of intersection for, because typically we have just one and something in y1 and something in y2, so we don't even really think when it says first curve, second curve, because it automatically goes to the first and second things that you've input. But when you have more than two things input, you've got to actually scroll through and determine which one you need to pick. So like for this first point of intersection over here, I need to find the intersection of y1 and y3. Okay, and I've illustrated that here, and I'm actually going to go through an example with you so you can see the steps real time. But I had to choose y1 and y3, And also, you have to make sure that you have an x and a y value being displayed for both curves, because you notice that this y3 piece is not defined where the circle is, at least inside the circle. It is defined for a little piece of that, but not all. They don't share the same domain. So you have to be careful that you have something displayed for the x and the y value before you can select the curve. And then you go to the guess and then move to the point of intersection and press enter, and it displays it for you. So this was our first point, that 3 and 1. Our second point, we had to do still y1 and y3, but we had to go to the other side. So this is where that guess is going to be critical now, because when you have more than one point of intersection, your calculator needs to know where is it going, or which point is it going to compute. So I went to the left side of the screen and I did y1 and y3, and I had to move to my guess to be near to this point, and then I pressed enter, so I found negative 3, 1 was my other point. So let's go through it and find the intersection of, or find rather, let's find this point y4 to figure out where we are. So let me pull up the calculator, and I've gotten just that main screen there, and I'm going to choose second and trace and option 5. So I want to find this point of intersection down here. That was what? That was y2 intersected with y4. So I don't want y1 being displayed. So to change that, I can use the down key or the arrow key. It doesn't really matter. Okay, now notice that it changed it to y2. So I'm going to press enter there. Now my second curve is not y3, right? My second curve is y4. So I need to use the down arrow key to select it, and notice that there's something there for x and y, so I'm going to press enter. I'm near my guess, so I'm going to press enter, and it tells me my intersection point is negative 3, negative 1. Now let's clear that out, and let's go back to the graph, and now let's find this other point of intersection. So that is still y2 intersected with y4, but it's on the other side. So let me show you how to deal with that. So we press second, trace, and I still choose option 5. Now I don't want that first curve to be y1, so I'm going to press the down arrow key. I do want it to be y2, so I'm going to press enter. My second curve is not y3, it is y4, right? So I press enter. Now, this is where you have to kind of pay attention. My guess needs to be close to this point over here. So only use your right and left arrow keys when you're trying to guess. So notice that right now I'm tracing along the graph of y4, but you see I don't have a y value there. That's because right now I'm not in the domain of y4. But before long I'm going to come to a point that will be in the domain. Okay, so I'm still tracing along. Okay, here we go. You see, so I was tracing along y4. I'm trying to move over here. So now I'm finally in my domain. I'm near to this point of intersection, so I'm going to press enter. And look, it tells me that point is 3, negative 1. Okay, so that's how I have to find those 4 points. So again, if you need to select a different equation to represent which point you're trying to find the intersection of, I have to use the up and down arrow keys. And then you move left and right arrow keys only to go from one side to the other side. Don't use up and down to do that. Up and down just takes you through the different equations that you've entered. Left and right moves you along those curves. Okay, so hopefully that will help. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks.